Cutting edge obstetric medical technology.
It's so weird because, like, they really, like, according to TV when I was a kid, were a big deal. Everyone had one.
Oh, yeah. It was on every sitcom. Like, there's always a diaphragm.
Is a diaphragm different than a sponge?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a diaphragm...
Explain it. Let's break it down.
Are we recording?
I love this OBGYN chat at the top.
So, and again, I'm judging all of this from Seinfeld and My So-Called Life and a few other shows that taught me about diaphragms. I've never seen one in real life. So it kind of looks like a wide condom.
It's like a flattened.
Like condom. A flattened. It's like a frisbee.
Yeah.
Like a soft rubber frisbee that you stick in your vagina, but it's made especially for you. It's like your special one.
You have to get sized.
You keep forever.
That part I didn't know.
You have to get fitted, which is like...
you have to get fitted for it. And then, I mean, honestly, it's green. I don't know what the problems were with it.
Oh, no, if it's green, you need to throw it away. You've been wearing it too long.
You got a bad diaphragm, pal.
Is there a choice of material, or is it always...
I'm guessing it's all rubber.
Pyrex.
I want
Is it BPA free?
I don't know if they make them for people that are allergic to latex. Well, it might not be latex. I don't know.
So then they make them out of recycled materials.
Yikes.
They should make new... Oh, my God, guys. Business idea. Let's start a recycled diaphragm company.
You got condoms. You got anachronistic diaphragms. Send them in. We clean them out and recycle them. That's like a thing that hasn't been around since like the 90s probably though, right? Because then sponges were a thing. Now you've got...
Those went out of fashion.
IUDs.
Yeah, I think they're just
shots.
better things.
IUDs.
Shouts to IUDs.
Yeah, I think basically IUD patches, shots, pills. I don't know why the diaphragm isn't used anymore. They do still have it when you go into Planned Parenthood. Like they still have it with all the other sex stuff. Like at least.
In case a Victorian ghost comes in and needs some contraception.
There's like an AARP application next to the diaphragm information. It's like, listen, you're old.
Honey, you're good.
Yeah. But that is actually a thing, though, because it's like, do you get to a point where you're like, listen, I can't keep up with all these new trends. I stick with what works for me. Get off my lawn.
I need a paper newspaper. I won't read it on the internet, and I need a diaphragm. Those are my two bugaboos. Gotta have them.
But you can poke a hole in a diaphragm. I saw that on...
That's a thing.
Good Girls Revolt.
Yeah, that also happens on shows. When you want to get pregnant, you can poke a hole in a diaphragm. Or if you want to get your wife pregnant,
right?
You can poke a hole in her diaphragm.
Or if you want to get pregnant, you can poke a hole in condoms. All these things that people are allegedly poking holes in, which I'm like, is this just one of those like plot devices that's never actually happened?
Heavy plot device.
Heavy plot device.
I'm sure it's happened. It would make more sense to me that someone would do the diaphragm than a condom, because the diaphragm's like just sitting there. Like you don't have to open a package. Yeah. Whereas with a condom, like...
Well, you open up like your suitor's wallet, and he's got his old trusty dusty condom in there that he's just waiting to pay off. And you go...
And then also, he has a checklist.
I guess you could pre-poke holes.
Number 1, have baby. Number 2, trick wife.
Like, oh no, I left my checklist inside his wallet. What was I thinking? Classic bit. Welcome back to We Are Definitely Afraid of the Dark. Yeah. This is the Scary Movie Podcast for people who are scared of everything. My name is Stephen Smith, and I'm scared of everything.
I'm Emma Holder, and I'm more scared of more things.
And I'm Kyle Romero, and I'm a big, brave boy.
This week we have a very exciting guest. Comedian, improviser, legitimate filmmaker, Allison Webster. Yes.
I'm Allison, and I'm sweaty.
It is very early in the morning. Let's set the stage so everybody knows. It's what time
daylight.
is it?
It's daylight. It's 10 a.m.
Well, I thought this was
Almost
the ideal environment that you
for
guys
me
wanted.
It is.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I think most recently, like, we were talking about how we got into this funk where we were doing a lot of stuff at night. And that's spooky. And now it's great. It's an overcast day, so there's a nice diffused light coming in to put us all at ease. Allison, are you scared of stuff? Are you a scaredy cat?
You know... if there's a gun, I'm gonna be scared. But we all feel that way. But if we're talking about scary movies in particular, something that a little trigger that y'all need to know, I don't like violence or gore stuff. I'm an HSP.
Me too.
Just like Emma.
We've talked about this.
And so it just really affects me. So you're not going to see that in my movie.
Oh, well,
today.
Oh, kudos to you, because that is definitely like verboten.
For the listeners, if you don't know what an HSP is, it's a highly sensitive person. And it's a real thing. And
I think it's just
there's a book about it you can read, and it can help you with your life if you feel sensitive.
You're like, there's a book about it. I wrote it. All proceeds go to me.
I wish.
So this is different. This is different from being an empath,
yes.
right? Being an empath is a separate
I think they're
thing.
connected.
Sure,
but
yeah, that makes sense.
Being an HSP, basically, like, it's not even just your emotions. It's like all of your senses are kind of intense.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I cover my eyes and plug my ears at movies. Even like,
wait a minute, am I an HSP?
Steven, you might be.
So many people.
So
many people.
I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. This sounds stupid.
I startle very easily.
Yeah.
What are the other things? If I go to a mall, like, all that lighting and sensory input really wears me down and freaks me out.
Are you affected by caffeine?
All stimulants and depressants really do the job.
What's the opposite of an HSP? Because I might have that.
Highly Romero.
I'm a very dull person.
Literally nothing affects me. I feel neither highs nor lows.
You're called a wall.
I've got wall disease.
Oh, what is there a test, or like you just gotta?
There's a self
girl.
A BuzzFeed quiz.
Come on in. The water's
a little too warm. The water is too warm.
Not too hot. It's not too cold. I do take warm showers. I don't take hot showers.
Oh, interesting. So what is the tactile quality of it then? Like, do things feel like? Do you like to? Because I like to like just walk along the street and run my hands along things to try to
that's interesting.
Pull in sensory. I like to touch things.
I do that too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Inanimate things.
Oh, I see. No, I didn't think about that. Walls. What? I'm not a wall.
I don't know if that's part of it.
Okay.
I think there's something about coarse fabrics that really set us off.
Yeah.
So if you feel
just a lot of luxurious cashmeres and like high thread counts.
I need it. I need it, doctor.
What's the thread count on these sheets? I'm an HSP.
So obviously the no gore, no like graphic stuff, but do you like a little bit of like a thrill and a chill, like a sort of like more?
Yeah, definitely. The things that spook me out the most are always like, this could happen in real life. Or, you set that whole based on a true story. Oh, can I say the F word?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, baby.
Yes.
We are not produced by anyone. You can do whatever you want.
No corporate overlord. Fuck, shit,
You didn't even want to do it in context. You just wanted to say it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to what I was saying.
Regular life.
I think so. Then maybe you guys have quite a bit of alignment then in terms of like what scares you. I'm gesturing to Allison and Emma. But, like this might be a good week for you. You already know the movies, obviously.
Yeah.
And so like give us some indication without spoilers. Is this going to be a pretty sweet set of movies? And then maybe we'll jump into this.
I'm excited because it's a wide range. And like I don't think any of them will traumatize me.
Oh, sweet.
Well,
okay, I could be wrong. One of them might be. One of them might be too scary.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait anymore.
Can we do
Okay,
Let's
let's
do
do
it.
it. Let's review the movies.
So you know the drill. Just give us run them down for us, and then we'll pick.
Okay, so, well, I also have backups in case
Oh shit! Okay.
you guys are.
All right.
My God.
Okay.
Model
Okay.
student. I love it.
So maybe the first one is a flub in the sense that I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. But I just thought this would be a good opportunity, and I've been interested in seeing it. It's Mother.
I forgot
terrified
that
at the prospect of seeing it. I've just
Really?
read too much of.
Oh wait,
Yeah, I've not seen it.
No one.
I've
Kyle,
seen
have
it.
you seen it?
I've seen it.
What's up?
It's bananas.
I'm down for
It's
it.
crazy.
Because
I will say there is some pretty traumatic violence in it. So
hot take: Darren
if that's-
Aronofsky is not a good director. anymore.
Yeah, anymore. I think.
Would say.
I've never seen him.
You've seen Requiem for a Dream?
No, I haven't. I never watched it because people told me it would bother me. People told me it would bother me.
Yeah, that's true. They were right.
They were 100% right.
I think I saw one of the later ones.
The Wrestler.
No.
I like that
the
one
where Wolverine is sitting in the Tree of Life. No.
I don't think I've seen any.
Okay.
I liked it, actually. I felt like it was kind of a return to form. Problematic in some ways. Troublesome violence. Very aggressive violence at a few points.
Great.
So, Allison, how are you feeling about your pick now?
Violence against women?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's very much a sort of like Dogville-y kind of thing, where like he's putting her through her paces.
Also, a weird thing in that regard.
That's
with, like, they were together when they made this movie. What? So like, there's like this weird. Darren Aronofsky and Jennifer Lawrence were an item.
You got the scoop.
Yeah, welcome to Hollywood gossip.
Insiders.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, so Mother's one option.
Okay, so just so you know, I'm feeling less because the next two I'm really excited about. So I think the next movie y'all are gonna be like, come on, girl. But listen, it's not a traditional horror film, but think of it as a horror film for Christians, which I used to be very religious, so I'm super interested in seeing this movie. Left Behind.
Oh, interesting. I thought you were going to go Passion of the Christ. I thought it was going to be Passion of the Christ.
Oh my God.
Is it? Okay.
Is now there's
Kirk
two
Cameron.
versions.
Yes. Yeah.
Is this the original version or this is the newer version they made
two versions
more recently?
The
Not
one
the Nick
with
Cage one.
Yeah, the
Okay.
one with
All right.
Kirk Cameron. Yeah.
So the
Candice
original.
Cameron.
Okay, cool.
Which I did not look up if that was streaming anywhere.
Oh, neither did I.
Is there like a Christian?
It's got to be on
VOD
YouTube.
service?
Somebody is just
I
like,
would
it's
imagine
free,
we
watch
can find
it. It's important.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I just want to say, as an idea of someone who is like heavily into the church, the idea of the rapture happening and me being left behind was so scary.
It was the most terrifying thing.
It's so scary.
What flavor of Christian?
What flavor?
Baptist?
Did you grow
Southern
up?
Baptist?
Non-denominational indie rock Christian.
Okay.
Really?
Mega church.
Sort of a pain
interesting.
point,
Guys,
kinda.
don't look at me
Where
differently.
in Texas?
No, that's
It was in. I feel like I shouldn't have disclosed that information. You know,
We'll scrub it.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll change it.
support whoever
bleep
you
it.
want.
Fair enough.
Believe, you know.
But also, this movie's crazy. Okay, cool. Number 2,
Okay.
Left Behind.
Oh my gosh, this next one is like truly like one of my favorite films of all time. I think that it is so terrifying just in the imagery itself. I think it's so well done. It's an amazing movie. It's called Raw. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Did people watch it? Did people watch it?
Okay.
Did people watch it?
Okay.
Who's watched it? Who's watched it?
I have
I've
not.
seen clips.
I have
Steven's
not seen
very
it.
scary.
Oh my God.
It's been sitting in that queue
Guys,
for a long time.
oh my gosh, you have to see this movie. You have
This is
to.
what I'm
have to,
leaning
have to.
towards.
I can tell you right away. I'm already
French Cannibals.
ready.
As a sort of like...
It's kind of my vote.
Well, then
I can't believe it.
Yeah,
Are we
no
unanimous?
discussion needed. We're watching Raw.
Allison, are you cool with us watching Raw?
This is amazing. This is.
I actually...
Can we get together another time to watch Left Behind?
Absolutely.
I was going to say
wanna-
let's get together another time to watch Mother. I don't want to watch Left Behind.
I don't want to watch Mother, so those will be 2 separate dates.
We'll have to coordinate our calendars.
We'll
but
get in the
meantime-
same building, but we'll watch them in different rooms.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
That's
and then
a
we'll
fun
come
little
out.
exercise for people that want to be near other humans but don't
Yeah.
really.
All right, let's watch Raw.
Hell yeah!
Ooh, it's before noon. All right, we're back. We watched Raw.
We sure did.
We
did
are
it.
punchy. It is close to noon
baby.
now, and we're all cannibals. we're horny cannibals.
How do you say thigh meat?
Cannibals. That's what they should call this movie.
Fine
young cannibals, because those guys were fine.
They were
young.
Young cannibals.
Cannibals.
Yeah.
This movie was fucking wild.
Yes.
Yeah, this was an excellent choice. We'll just get coming right out the bat. Mm-hmm. Such a good movie, I think. We'll talk about it individually later. But it was great. It was so great. Beautiful. Let's. When did you first see this? Let's set the stage.
Well, it's great because I first saw it alone in my room, which, what
Pretty
other
spooky.
way?
Yeah.
High as
the best way.
Spook,
Were you like
no.
headphones or?
No, I was without headphones, but I really wish I would have taken the opportunity to see it in a theater.
Yeah.
Like, premiere at South by, and just, that would have been so much better.
I think we talked about it a little bit off mic because we had like an almost unanimous, like Emma came in wanting to watch Raw as the option that of the three, right? That's the one that you were pulling for.
I would have watched Left Behind, but yeah.
I forgot that was going to be on.
Because I have always been curious about that.
Yeah,
Please,
fair enough.
guys.
And then I think probably appropriately so, we're worried that I would be too squeamish to sit through this.
Yeah.
There's some difficult imagery.
Stuff hard for me.
What?
There's stuff in here that's hard for me,
Oh,
and as we established earlier, I am
He's
literally
a wall.
Yeah.
So I think, but it does feel once again one of these things that is like kind of why we're doing this, or like what the impetus for the entire podcast is that it's like good cinema that has like a sort of genre bent. So like might not be taken as seriously as it should be, but it was great. I'm so glad. I would not have sat through it high or otherwise by myself and watched this movie. That sounds fucking crazy. And Emma's on record of saying she enjoyed it but won't watch it again.
Never ever in my life will I watch that again. Yeah, sure, it's good.
She's got an arm.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to eat meat again, which is okay because I am trying to eat less meat.
There you go.
So
this is like a curative then.
Yeah, it's
a
great movie.
If you are
and
thinking about
functional.
becoming vegetarian,
boy, have I got the movie for you.
I gotta level with you guys. This made me want to lean the other way into it. It's like, you're a nasty boy, you love meat, just lean into it, be yourself.
Stop cooking it.
It's
Eat
the way that
humans.
it is. Yeah, just full on stop cooking it.
What are any dietary restrictions, Allison? you eat meat or what? What's your deal?
I'm actually trying to eat less meat, but
We all are. It's getting warm out there.
yeah.
I will have to say for the listeners, I did a non-disclosure that I don't like typically gory things, but this was...
Which is wild.
This is a
real
definite
misdirect.
exception. I think I like it so much just because it all serves a purpose. It's not unnecessary gore, and it's just nothing like you've ever seen before.
That's fair.
The character work, as you pointed out when we were watching it, is so good that it sort of gives you permission to revel in the gore, as opposed to the thing in horror where it's just like, it's just gore for gore's sake, which I'm not wildly into. I mean, I certainly have my weird shit with it, but this definitely is a movie that earns it.
Well,
Squirm.
Let's do our like little
My
rundown.
1 minute
We'll give
recap?
you. Let me get a. Are you ready?
timer?
You locked and loaded?
Yeah.
You ready to go? Okay. In 2, 1, go.
Justine is starting her first semester at a prestigious French veterinary school where her big sister happens to go, and hazing is in. So she and her gay male roommate, because that's a thing they do in France. And maybe they do that here now too. I'm old. I don't know. We didn't have roommates of the opposite sex.
Well, we're getting the weeds. We gotta get them out.
You're right. So, Justine is made to eat a rabbit kidney during hazing, and she's a
30
vegetarian,
seconds.
lifelong vegetarian. She discovers a lust for blood. Her sister accidentally cuts her finger off when she's trying to wax Justine. And
Which is just a
Justine-
crazy sentence.
Justine's trying to wax Justine's pussy.
Thank you for clarifying.
Spoiler. This is a spoiler.
Everything I say is going to be a spoiler. I'm telling the plot.
Oh, we spoil.
Yeah.
10 seconds. 10 seconds.
So she finds out she has a lust for blood and wants to eat humans. She eats her sister's finger and then discovers her sister's also a cannibal. And it runs in the family. Mom's also a cannibal.
Time. Ooh, you got there just under the wire. Yeah, Allison.
And they kill her friend.
Oh my God! Yeah, we
It's very
spoil.
sad.
We spoil,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
everybody knows. But everybody
nobody
knows.
would listen to this if they didn't want it spoiled.
Yeah.
Well, can I just say, as someone who's also listened to this, confirmed, does Emma watch the movie? It's a little It's a little questionable.
Okay, here's the thing.
Well, that is the premise of this whole bit.
Yeah,
which
welcome
is like,
to the...
It's
not a
hilarious. No, not the bit of you not watching or watching. The bit of you doing the rundown is, of course, it has to be you because you watched the least of everybody.
Yes. So here's the thing. This is probably the movie I paid a lot more attention to than usual. But
because you had to read it.
I can see the gears.
That's what
You're
I'm
like,
trying to
I
say.
gotta parse my language so that I
That's what I'm trying to
can save face but not be lying.
So normally I cannot watch and hear everything and like I am, it's all coming in. Mm-hmm. But with this, I really did miss chunks because I would not pay attention and then all of a sudden I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
There was a part of this movie where it's the two sisters and they're just like hanging out. It was like, have they met before?
Is that her sister?
Is that her sister? And it full on came right after a full scene with
when they were together.
hanging out.
But you know, Emma does have face blindness, as was confirmed by that instance. But I also think that like this is something that came up when Dylan brought that horrible home invasion trash. Who's I can't even remember what it's called anymore.
Inside.
Like baby cuts. That we were both like, oh my god. We should have, well, we can't do that because we've already established the rules, but we should have a caveat that is like, we have to think long and hard about anything that's subtitled because you can't look away unless you're fluent in, well, in this case, French, but like you can't look away. You would lose.
So you're saying we should encourage more foreign movies so that you assholes are forced to pay attention?
No.
Yeah, I mean, well, this one was like, yeah, I mean, you would miss out, I think, on some of the sort of subtext of what is happening if you don't understand what everybody's saying.
Because of that, I do actually think my eyes were on the screen more than they usually are. That being said, I missed more than I usually do. Because
I don't follow.
Because when I did not look, I missed everything. Yeah. Whereas normally when I don't look,
got it. You can.
I honestly like I hear everything. So I'm like. I'm listening to my podcast.
Just a little pro tip from an old hand at the movie watching game. If you look at the screen, you'll actually solve that problem. You just like get all the input that you need to get from
Nah, man, radio plays. We'll bring them back, man.
Somebody bring Little Orphan Annie and The Shadow to our next recording, and we'll do those.
So you saw it for the first time by yourself. Well, I don't know. So also, if you don't mind, like for my benefit, and then anybody who's listening, like what kind of films do you make? Like, what is your like sort of narrative films?
Yeah, I like a lot of talky stuff, a lot of slice of life kind of thing. I'm on that whole Austin Linklater train.
Okay, cool.
I'm brainwashed in the scene.
Do you ever do anything that's sort of like a genre kind of like exercise, like the way that this is? Because I think this is really talky, really sort of like, I mean, as verite as a cannibal sexual allegory movie can be. But like, do you ever go in this direction? Is that something that you're interested in at all?
To do horror?
Can I say I would fucking love an Allison Webster horror movie? Like, I want that very much.
I feel like it's typically the way filmmakers usually like break into the scene because there's always like a desire for it, but there's also so much that you can do. It's also just like an easy, you need this.
Yeah.
Quick little,
Okay.
It's always going to be in, like, people will always want to see it. You can sell it really easily. And also, it's easy to map whatever thing you want to talk about onto it.
Right.
Like you can,
so
whatever emotional thing you want to explore.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to twist his words.
What'd you say?
And just saying horror's easy and cheap,
no.
and we shouldn't watch it.
I do think it's sort of like limitless though. Like it stretches and doesn't break. Like in terms of like other genres or even just sort of like traditional dramatic films. So anyway, make a horror film. Yeah. You heard it here first. You got your first fan. So let's get back to raw. How do you say raw in French? Where are my Frenchies?
Tartare.
Sounds right.
Fully believing.
Because steak tartare.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I don't know. I should know.
I always. I'm like obsessed with sort of like the like how they do that aspect of these horror movies, particularly when there's like practical effects in the context of this movie. Like, what do you think Homegirl was eating at various stages
when
of this
movie? When
movie?
she threw up the hair?
What was the finger composed of? Was it like a little bit of chicken wrapped in like some that stuff you put on wedding cakes or something like that? It's like painted
fondant.
I bet it was marzipan.
Marzipan
I bet it was all
finger.
marzipan with like jelly inside to be blood.
That's why she was taking so small a bite.
It had kind of like a rubbery.
It was so chewy though.
It was chewy.
It
had
chewy.
like a bit of pull, and then there was some kind of shaft that was bone-like because she was picking it clean.
Yeah. That's a really interesting thought. Like, how do they make edible body parts for film?
It almost looks like those little gummy hamburgers that you can make. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Have a little pull to them. Yeah. So who has? Well, you guys have sisters, Emma and Allison.
Yes, and I have an older sister I went to college with.
Whoa.
Oh, what was it? Freshman, senior kind of situation?
She was a junior when I was a freshman.
Oh my god.
So I did have like weird, like no, it was bizarrely relatable at moments. Never ate a human together. Never let her wax my pussy.
Emma's just like
she never
winking
asked
at us right
either.
now.
Like that was not. But that weird like. We still have hostility towards each other because we're not that much older.
Yeah, that's the most fascinating thing about it. It is like you want to rip each other apart, but you're also like super defensive and protective of one another.
And that was
like it's
super
fascinating.
our relationship.
Yeah. And so like in the context of this movie, like that comes through like this sort of like competitiveness where it's like you're kind of like, but at the same time like you only have each other because you're both fucking cannibals. It's wild.
Yeah.
Is that what your sort of sister relationship was like?
Well, I feel like just all the moments, like even though they haven't happened to me, was like extremely relatable. Like when they were on the roof and they were peeing standing up, like
that was fun.
It was cute. You never see anything like that anymore, especially like between two women, and this was directed by a woman, and so it was like clearly very much just like obvious that they like knew what was going on, and obvious that they like knew how to show that relationship.
Well, I think and you got to something that we're talking about in the context of the movie, which is like there's a lot of work that's done to develop the characters to make them like sympathetic or relatable, and it is something that is kind of missing in the genre by and large. I mean, this is something that we always complain about when we're shitting on the movies that are like classics, or like no motivation, no character development. Who cares? Ultimately,
these were really great characters,
right?
Yeah.
So it's particularly devastating at the end when they have like this like really intimate and sort of like off-putting goodbye between like Glass when the sister's in prison, and then even more so when it's like, oh, they were doomed to it all along, when the dad opens up his shirt and he's got like this model flesh and all these like fresh wounds. It's wild.
I really liked the part where after she discovers that her sister has killed her best friend / lover /
roommate / confidant
and she almost like she has that moment of anger where she almost kills her sister, and then she cleans her.
She
takes a shower with her and washes the blood off of her. And that just like, because my sister and I did go to a really tiny school together, whenever we had to murder a man, but we would get in fights, and it was like kind of embarrassing because it was like we're supposed to be adults,
public, like everybody.
But then we would also always have each other's back too, and it was like this kind of great thing to have. So that just kind of reminded me of that.
So tender.
Yeah.
It was a nice moment.
Siblings?
Yeah.
Because I would argue that this is like an intensely female thing too, like a sister bond. Because I think I don't have a brother. You ever got a brother, don't you?
I
don't think that's
brother.
Like the way that like sibling men bond.
Yeah, it's slightly,
they would not have each other's
It's
back.
slightly different. We definitely would not take a shower together, and I would not clean him.
You ever bleached your brother's asshole?
You guys,
statute of limitations.
You guys you get up on a roof and then you sit down and pee. That's the way to like bond together. No, just squat, bro.
My brother is younger than me, 6 years younger than me. So it's like far enough apart that we would not be in a situation where we never like went to school together.
Yeah.
And we were so far apart that we didn't have that kind of like shared experience thing.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until I got older that I realized like, oh, we lived like completely different, separate lives, even though I felt like very close and connected to him. And yeah, it definitely is different for dudes. But I will say that there was a lot of it I could relate to. Yeah. I mean, just there's that pure sibling thing of like, I want to murder this person, like you said.
Yeah,
and
my
then
sister,
like the very next second, just loving them and embracing
we only got
them.
each other.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my sister brutalized me. Like she beat me up all of the time.
Yeah.
And then we were like the thickest of like best of friends in high school because again we finally had a period of time where like we kind of coexisted in the same space. We were at school at the same time, and so I don't know. So a quick show of hands. Who? Well, no, it's an audible or it's an audio format.
This is an audible.
We
podcast.
need you to sound off with a verbal confirmation. Would you, if you're put in that position, wild as it may be, do you like save the sister?
What do you mean with save her?
I mean, do you like in a moment of sort of like rage, you don't kill her?
No.
Yeah, I would
of course
not kill.
Yeah,
I would not do that.
Yeah.
I definitely think I would do the respectful thing and in washing her sister off. I feel like it's, the very least, like she's already so low. The older sister has hit beyond rock bottom, and it's just like at least have the dignity of like washing yourself off before the police come that you like admitted that you ate this human being.
It's a sort of interesting thing though, because it like just as a kind of like compulsion or something like that is unsustainable. Even in prison, there's still like blood bags walking around that she can snack on. But like
I bet she'll be in solitary.
That's interesting that is rock bottom for her though.
Like a Capri Sun, just straw on them.
Well, it's like because she's obviously killed before. Like we even see the two of them do it together when they like derail that car crash. And so like why is that like a bridge too far? Like in that moment, is it because it's like a violation, not that that she killed somebody, but somebody that she knew, and it's somebody who's close to the sister? Like it's a violation of trust between the siblings?
Yeah,
that's a good question.
I think it's something she can't cover up.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not anonymous in the way that like
the car crash
would be.
And then also when you see the car crash, it's like the sister's doing that in the moment. It's reactionary, right? It's like she's not being herself. She's like doing. I mean, she is, but she's doing this to benefit her sister. She even says it explicitly in that moment.
It's a weird charitable act, which is like, oh, that's not. I didn't.
Yeah,
wait.
Don't
walk
do
me through that before
thanks.
you do that.
Whereas this act at the end of the movie feels like it's just the sister behaving entirely like instinctually, and just sort of like losing herself and doing a thing that is bad.
Yeah.
So it feels different to me in that way.
Well, and it is their friend, and like she tells her to leave him alone.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like clearly a violation of the sister rule, and just like it's more violent. Like it's not running in front of a car, it's stabbing someone with a ski pole, and then
more direct.
Yeah. You're like involved in the act, the killing blow.
And then you see Justine like question whether or not she should trust her sister when she's like on both sides, if she locks the door or not before they go to bed.
Yeah.
You know? And
So it's like she's like maybe somewhat complicit in it happening because she anticipated it might and then doesn't lock the door.
I guess so.
Emma, you say you would not watch it again. Yeah. What was the thing that was like the most triggering? Like what was the most difficult sequence to
all
watch?
The yucky.
So most of the movie.
Yeah, there were just like so many parts I could not look at the screen because I was going to puke.
You're like just the raw Selma
The hair
chicken.
was real bad.
I thought the hair was like, I get it because like I don't like gross body stuff.
Yeah.
The hair was so fucking fascinating because it was just like kept coming.
See, that
out.
grossed me. Like I actually gagged a little at that part.
All right.
So that was probably the worst part when she's throwing up a long thing of hair, which happened in the ring too. What is it with these women throwing up hair?
It's very upsetting.
Yeah. We all have a visceral reaction to it. I think the thing that was like maybe the most kind of like affecting, and it's even just like kind of like in the midpoint of her cannibalism arc, is that Fingy baby.
So the finger was real
it's
gross.
like such an intense scenario in that like we've already been like totally knocked off like center because like this shot opens just in this sort of like gynecological pose where it's just like these legs and she's on the bed and then the dog is in and out of frame and we're all kind of like that's slightly like throwing us off kilter, and then the skin pulling when her sister's waxing her, but it's like not coming free, and you're just like waiting for it to rip off a patch of skin. And that's like all precursor to somebody getting their finger cut off and somebody eating that finger. And it's just like, there's too many moving elements. There's like the sister's bleeding out on the ground, the dog's lapping up blood, and then she's like, it's like ritualistic. Like she's drinking the blood out of the dripping finger and then like fully putting it into her mouth and savoring it. so upsetting.
Yeah, it's very upsetting, and you're right. The way that scene builds is fucking mwah,
It's so long.
Good.
It like
it's
really
so
takes
long.
time.
And the I think you say that the eating the fingers like kind of ritualistic. What I liked about it is that she just does it. She's kind of like playing with it, and then suddenly just like puts it in her mouth, and you're like, "Whoa, she's doing it!" Like she just kind of does it. Yeah. And then the other thing about that scene that is so upsetting, like the kill shot is like the sister waking up.
Oh yes.
Like it is
raising in the background.
Yeah.
You're like,
it is not the violence. Like the violence is already it's already taking you to this like high level.
Yeah.
But then watching the sister do the full like Michael Myers Undertaker like sit up.
Well, this is what I like about watching the movies together. Maybe like we, sometimes we don't have time to do that, but it's like I have like this myopia when it's happening where I'm like just fucking laser focused on that finger, like because I can't believe it's going down the way it's going down, and so like I don't even see the sister moving in the frame in the background until all of you guys react, and then it's like what's happening? Like I'm scanning the frame, like what's going on? It's so good. It's so good.
I actually think the most disturbing part are all the animal sequences.
Yeah, the animal stuff is hard.
The horse stuff especially.
Well, like, describe that, because, like, when they're sort of tranking.
But not in too much detail.
Bit by bit. Real-time recap.
It's just such a huge being. Like, when they lift the horse on whatever that, like, it's not a forklift.
It's like
it's some weird, like, inverted harness.
Because that's just fucking wild. You never see that. And then it's also when the horse is running on the treadmill, that's surprisingly, like, very moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there's something about like taking a horse, one of God's most perfect creatures,
beautiful,
and like subverting it in that way, and like putting it in this position where it has no power. It's like being put to sleep, not like put down, but like literally put to sleep, tranquilized. And then seeing it like get lifted, you're just like, what is going? And there's like no violence in that scene. Really, there's no blood.
But it is something that we do not see. I think it's like that's what I'm starting to realize is like when we see these international horror films is like they really go to places that like this sort of like American psyche is not ready for, because that kind of shit does not make like you just couldn't write that, I feel like, and film it and have people in the streets freaking out about it. Even though like nothing bad happens to the animal. It's like
it's just upsetting. It's just purely upsetting.
Because it's like tranquilized it with ketamine, and then it's like 4 people pressing it against a wall as it slowly
huge animal.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you would say that, because I don't hear any talk. There's like no chatter about people trying to remake this movie for American audiences. And
I don't think you could.
I bet a lot of it's extraordinarily French. But I bet a lot of that is like, oh, we just can't do that. We cannot set a movie in a veterinary school here. Yeah. Like, it just would not fly.
I mean, that's such an interesting choice, too. Because it's like...
Oh, my God. That's what I was thinking. It's just like, what a smart idea. Like, I'm always really interested in the jumping off point for horror movies. Like, where does the original idea come from? And this one has like a pretty clear hook of like, vegetarian gets a taste of meat and becomes a cannibal. Simple pitch. But then you have sort of that separate thing of like putting it in a veterinary school that's like so smart and so interesting. You could the idea of setting a horror movie in a veterinary school is fucking great. It's the scariest place.
But like it's not what I think of when I think of a veterinary school.
Oh, not at all.
No.
Well, it's a very specific large animal vet school, which there aren't that many. Like that's a rare type. Like most vets are small animal vets,
like dogs and cats. And
and then large animal, it's a totally different program.
Is that just like livestock and horses and cows?
And cows,
okay.
and sheep and like any animal that like a farm.
As a farm animal, got it.
I'm surprised the parents were like, please just. Not this profession, just like anything else, like they've clearly been through it.
Yeah, it is interesting that both daughters go into it. Was the dad a vet too, or one of them?
Yeah, because when they got to the
school,
school, they were both like recognizing. They're like, "Oh, it's shabbier than we remember."
So it's like
we
have to go.
It's like this sort of family legacy. Also, just a random aside, like as the father's giving his like final speech before his big reveal, and he's kind of got like a hair lip like scar. I was like. Oh my God.
I had never noticed the scar before, and I noticed it in that scene. Was like, oh shit, mom's a biter too.
And it explains that sequence in the beginning when they're like at like a weird road stop, and she has this sort of like visceral angry reaction to her daughter like eating meat because it's like, oh yeah, this will be like a triggering thing,
right?
Or, I'd watch it again. I'm like, I want to watch it again now with the context of like what we learned.
It's fantastic.
I would watch an edited version. It just has like, this is what happens in this 5 minutes. This is what you're missing, Emma.
Yeah.
We'll make it now you can watch again. It would be about 20 minutes long.
The old professor from the French in Action tutorial videos comes in and explains the plot.
So are we gonna like? Do we want to like, without a lot of time to reflect on it? Like, what do we think about this movie as kind of like sexual awakening or sexual allegory for like emergent sexuality? Like this sort of idea of like moving from like this sort of restrained girl into like this sort of woman, but it's like in this kind of like deviant way, because it tracks as like a kind of like one-to-one metaphor or allegory up until the point in time when she kind of like starts to hurt other people, and then it moves into this deviant space that I'm like, ooh, that's like maybe harder for us to unpack on a comedy podcast for people who just saw the movie. But it is, but like, I mean, like in terms of sexual awakening, how do we feel about it?
Let's just say it's French. It's French.
Because I mean, that's so much of what this is, but I'm also kind of like, oh boy, we need some time to think about it.
Yeah.
I literally was watching the movie thinking like, God, I hope we don't get into this because I am not qualified to talk about it.
Well, guys, we're not. Absolutely. But I'm just...
But do we have unqualified opinions?
Yeah, exactly. We do have takes. But let's just... We've addressed it. Let's move past it. I would feel crazy if we put this podcast out where we're like, it's just about eating meat. It's totally literal.
No, there's sex shit too. Can we talk about... So, like, the parties they go to are so creepy.
Wild.
And, like, the girl licking the eyeball, that was so nasty to me.
That was hot.
Did she end up eating it? I closed my eyes.
No, it wasn't her.
No.
It was,
I know it wasn't her, but I was just like, I don't know. Of course that didn't happen, but like part of me thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
There's just so much in there to just creep you
out. There's all of those like wonderful interstitial sequences, like the horse running or like the dog's corpse, where like the sheet like sort of like gently lifts and falls off. That are just, I mean, I think that are that like have meaning, but are also there as these sort of like not palate cleansers, whatever the opposite of cleansing your palate is, like putting more on your palate
dirtier.
A palate dirtier that's like, that sort of like heat.
Finger in your mouth, a bloody finger in your mouth.
The man laughing at her. And he takes
oh my God. Very French. It's also a real female gazy movie, probably the result of like a female director. There's like that sequence when I feel like we're getting back into sex territory. I can't help
Steven, we get it.
I know. But it's like, I'm like, isn't everybody else a little horny after watching that movie? But that sequence with the roommate where the camera's just sort of like essentially like lovingly caressing his body because it's like she's like hungry for him in more ways than
when he's
one.
playing soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is the sort of thing that I think if we talk about an American adaptation, it wouldn't happen.
It would just lose so much stuff.
Yeah, a lot of it.
And like that weird scene at the gas station where the creepy man is like talking to them and is like, "Wow, your girl's hungry," and like rubbing the guy's arm, like his ear.
It's like predatory, or it's like this weird sort of like toxic kind of masculinity thing. It's like also kind of a bit French. There's a class thing that's happening because they're like school kids and he's like working class.
Yeah.
We need like French people on this podcast.
If you're French and you're listening to this show, come on and French-splain raw to us.
Your country makes interesting movies we don't understand.
But great.
Yeah.
That's so good.
They know what the fuck they're doing. French horror, man, is wild.
Oh, Allison, were you like, is this a movie that you're like trying to get, that you're evangelical about, like trying to get people to see
I show it to so many people. so many people.
So how many times have you watched
this? Is probably my 5th or 6th.
Oh,
hell yeah.
God.
But,
do you like sit them down
movie too.
and like put the movie on and then watch them and go, or is it like, get back to me when you've had a chance to watch it?
Well, no, I really do sit down and watch it, and it's I want to say it's not new to me every time, but the pacing is never slow. Like, everything is always paid off really well, and like just it puts you there so well. Like,
it puts you in her point of view really well.
Yeah.
And the acting is great.
so
the
good,
acting is really great.
Well, how do you guys? Is Justine is the name of the character?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Justine by the end? Like, is she sympathetic? Because you said something interesting, which I think we talk about in the past, like where like directors really like to put their sort of like protagonist women through their paces in these movies because they're like these endurance tests.
Yeah.
I think she's like hugely sympathetic, but
okay.
I worry because I'm like always wrong about this. Where I'm like, no, the monster's cool, and you guys look at me like,
no.
I'm a bad person.
As I said that, I was like, that's a little too flip. Like, I was just trying to call out that thing that we have talked about, but I think there is like like two things going on. Like, yes, I think she is immensely sympathetic, and I felt for her as a character immediately for meeting her, like right from the first scene. But also, it does seem like, I guess. So my thing with this movie, I've wanted to watch it for a very long time. Like from the first time I saw the trailer, I was like, "This looks like it fucking rules," and I just didn't for whatever reason. I think I just thought it wouldn't be as fun as it is. Like, it's like got a sense of humor about it, and like a sense of playfulness. Like that ending is like very playful, like while still accomplishing the thing it's trying to do. So I guess when I say like, oh, the director hates their actor, to me what it read as is like, oh, they're having fun kind of like putting her in all these different set pieces and like putting her through the paces. And the actor also seems to be having fun like getting to do all this wild shit.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't shy away from the premise at all.
Yeah, it fully explores that premise.
Marry, fuck, kill. The boy with no eyebrows with paint.
He's the one who.
Why is he in the
I'm
thing?
choosing some random
He's
ones.
like the one who's AIDS monkey conspiracy guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So him.
Like,
and then
kill next.
Done.
The weird laughing man from the hospital.
Mary, because he.
Let me give you all three options. Have you never played this game
I just
before?
like to make the.
But the answers are so obvious.
I like to back myself into a corner.
Professor with the weird hair.
Oh yeah. Okay.
These choices suck.
Okay. Well, what would your Mary fuck kill be from this movie?
No, can I do the one that was?
Yes.
I want to definitely fuck Teeth, old man Winky Teeth, because like he'll go down on me. Like, you can tell that fucking teeth move.
He's gonna be laughing the whole time.
I'm gonna kill the AIDS monkey, and I'm gonna marry that warlock who teaches the math class. Or whatever.
Okay.
That warlock with the asymmetrical geometric hair.
He's got Daria's friend's haircut.
Exactly what I was thinking of.
He just needs his hair shaped a little.
Yeah.
I feel for him. I understand.
Also, just some leave-in conditioner, size of a dime. Just like run it through.
But he's set up. He's a professor. He has a stable.
Yeah. You can smell that guy coming off the street. Oh wait, can we also just talk about, because it's again like lol France, when she's fully in an examination room at a hospital after like having skin pulled off of her by like an attending nurse, and then she's like, want to hear a story, and then like lights a cigarette.
Oh,
it's like,
that woman,
you guys
the best.
are wild over there, man.
A story about like a fat person she met that is like sympathetic but also a little patronizing. Very French. Very.
The only thing that was missing from that is like her throwing shade at either Jews or Muslims. The virulent, hateful culture of France. Anyway, Allison, you got
like here.
Yeah, fuck France and America.
Great movies. We love your movies.
Allison, you got to fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, do I have a fuck, marry, kill?
You liked the sister. The sister is. Let's put a sister in the list.
Okay.
Sister is.
Let's do the three main characters: the sister, the friend, and
the roommate.
Justine.
And the roommate. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well,
you gotta kill one of the cannibals. You can't.
I think you gotta kill the sister.
I think you have to kill the
She's
sister.
She's buck wild. She's off the hook.
She's not in control of herself.
I
know she's pretty. I know she's pretty.
Interesting.
I'm gonna fuck roommate, marry Justine, kill Alex the sister.
I think I'm gonna kill the sister.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna marry roommate because he won't.
Because he's
eat
stable.
me.
That's a good point.
And I'll fuck Justine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna marry the roommate, F the sister.
Oh, kill Justine? Wow.
Just because sisters.
I'm gonna kill the roommate. Sorry.
Just because he's a boy?
No, he just doesn't. It's I don't know. That scene of him
sexuality
playing
doesn't matter in this story.
Seems like no, it's not about that. It's not about that.
Listen,
I literally
fictionally have sex with this gay character, please. Fictionally have sex with him.
Okay, fine. If that's what you want, I'll fuck the roommate.
No. Stick to your guns.
Fuck that. I'm killing the roommate. I'm marrying. Oh, this is tough. I'm marrying the sister, and I'm fucking just.
You are marrying the sister?
That is insane.
Yeah, no.
Well, first of all,
I trust her. Well,
maybe you're gonna have these
If I'm
conjugals
marrying
in
her,
French
then
prison.
we have these. Well, assuming that.
Or you're gonna get
married
dadded
from this part on, like the end of the movie on. She's in prison. It's fine. Like I'm not gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
And then
also the dad's doing fine. Like he does have to wear long sleeve shirts.
But he's married to
They worked it out.
the mom. Not
that's my thing. Yes, they worked it out. So I feel like
Isn't that great for the dad,
we could come to an agreement.
Kyle wants a project, like a woman who needs a little bit of
solving a problem.
Kyle, you need to tell your therapist about this. That you.
I don't think this is crazy. I think you're the crazy ones.
Okay.
Well,
Also, Justine's eyebrows. Oh my god.
Too bad.
Wonderful.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I like them. I'm very into it.
But they have that dog. They have the dog, and I'm just like, this is so. Why don't you guys just rotate dogs out and eat them?
Yeah.
That seems like the obvious choice.
Well, it feels like it's human flesh.
It has to be
it's
human.
not humans.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't get why they don't do something like, when a story about a benevolent vampire where they go to the morgue.
That's what the parents' relationship is.
That
though.
seems to be what.
I mean, that's what it is, right? They've come up with some sort of
She just
agreement where she
nibbles?
basically does surface flesh wounds. She never fully eats a thigh.
But doesn't she get hungry?
No,
she's
but
all those vegetables.
she's taking bites. She's
Yeah.
taking bites. He's got fresh wounds that were akin to that cheek wound.
Sure, it just
superficial
doesn't
wounds.
seem like that would be satisfying, and why
You got to exercise a little bit of self-control.
person-
Yeah,
love.
it's all about willpower.
I guess.
But to me, it feels like it reminds me of Let the Right One In. Have you guys seen that? Where it's
No.
this sort of physical or emotional sacrifice that you make for somebody who's got this sort of deviant hobby.
I don't think I would let someone bite my flesh off.
Oh, I think we're all in agreement there, except for Kyle.
Kyle.
Hold on. If the lady looked like the sister looks, I would let her bite my flesh off.
Oh, that is a crazy thing to say. Okay, Allison, what are you...
I need to make a very surface level
Sure.
symbolism metaphor, if you will. That just the whole, comparing animals to humans. You have the rape monkey, rape women talk. You have the freshmen crawling like animals. And then, obviously when the sisters get into a fight and people are holding them back, and they're just like
Yeah.
dogs.
Wild dogs on chains. Yeah, yeah.
Is there more within that? Is that just...
Oh yeah, I think
there's
that's the
so
whole
much.
movie because it's the vet school. We see all these dead animal carcasses.
Well,
But
then
it
there's
just
also
seems-
the part where she's having the conversation when they're talking about the monkey, and she talks about how monkeys can recognize themselves in the mirror. And
They're
then
self-aware.
after she I think it's at the end of the movie when she wakes up next to him
And
with the
checks the
leg
mirror.
on, she's looking at herself. And there's a shot where she's checking
yeah.
herself out in the mirror.
True.
She's
To make sure
having
she
a
didn't
stare
eat him,
down
yeah.
with herself in the mirror, am I human? What is going on? So yeah, that definitely I think is.
But it just seems so obvious. I'm wondering if there's more.
Well,
I think that it's if you think about sort of large scale industrial meat processing and stuff like that essentially robs whatever you're eating of the inherent, not humanity, but cow-manity from the cows to
Stephen Moo-manity.
Humanity. It was right there. in front
You
of me,
idiot.
You did it, my dude. You did it. Quick, dude, chicken and pig. No. But, so it's if we think about the way that the kind of... Everybody eats meat here to varying degrees.
Yeah.
Is trying to eat less, but does.
I don't eat red meat, but I eat chicken.
The way that sort of is set up in a kind of industrial technique is it distances us from what we're eating, and we don't have any sort of emotional impact necessarily about what we're eating it or wasting it or otherwise. And so it's once you eat something and you agree that you're going to eat it, do you steal from it some degree of its sort of self-awareness or its value in the world? Maybe, right? So it's cows aren't as important in even in this sort of medical context where everybody's ripping them apart and cutting them open, they don't see them as animals anymore, their work. I think that's kind of what's happening when they start eating people a little bit, where it's well, you just have this sort of like ethical or moral bargain you make with yourself where you're like, well, I got this urge and I have to meet it. So like I'm going to eat this friend even though I know I don't want to. I'm going to kill people out on the street even though it's not a good idea. They're somehow still sympathetic at the end. For me,
well, yeah,
but they're monsters.
That's a relatable
and
thing.
they're trying to avoid it a little.
I feel like only Justine.
Okay, yeah,
Only
Justine's
Justine
trying
is.
to.
Yeah, Alex has gone has gone full fine young cannibal.
Well, now hold on. She
Okay.
has regret.
Kyle's got
At
to
the end of
defend
the
his
day-
girlfriend.
No, but I mean, like, she's not. It's not as if she's like. She eats the guy's thigh and kills him, and then
it's like
the next morning it's like, "That's right, motherfuckers! I'm here to eat people." She's like fucking traumatized by that.
You're right.
And is dealing with the consequences
That's a
of
good
that
point.
clearly.
Yeah.
So it's not.
She's
that
not Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, she's not like.
I would argue though that like, so like, there's some culpability there for those parents because like they have some thought that this is like probably going to potentially happen.
Yeah.
And then they don't do anything. I mean, it works in the context of the story, but like maybe that lets Alex, your sweet girlfriend, off the hook a little bit because she was doomed before she even realized it.
I'm gonna wade into this too a little bit, but that's sort of the way that you said that just now is like, okay, well maybe there's something about like sexuality there, like parents that know these things that like don't have those conversations with their kids, even though they know that if they don't have those conversations, it's gonna be damaging.
Let's just say that there is this whole like vast ocean of potential analysis that we are ignoring.
There's a lot
by
Yeah.
virtue of, like,
There's a lot going on.
But
Thank you for cutting me off and preventing me from saying literally any other words.
Yeah, fair enough.
do y'all remember that story about the guy in Germany who put an
Yes,
ad on Craigslist to
Yeah.
eat a man? And he did, but the man willingly went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fried up his dick and ate it together, I believe.
Yeah.
And then he ate the rest of the man. I just think that's real weird. But also interesting because it's like he went to jail for it, but it's like the guy consented to
It was
being
a
murdered.
consensual-
It's wild. I mean, we're
I
just
don't
like
know.
getting into kind of like
Yeah.
like right to death sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it's consensual, yeah, logical conclusion, yeah, do whatever the fuck you want.
It makes me sad.
But you gotta jail him because you can't have people thinking
eating
it's
people is
okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we just can't we're interested in it as this sort of like weird freak occurrence, but we don't want to like normalize that because it's like,
No.
well, no, let them have their restaurant. It's cool. We've taken it to this sort of logical conclusion, but I also feel like suddenly like we're weird Republicans where we're like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
Let them do that.
Slippery slope.
No cannibal rights.
Let's vote on this fucking movie.
Okay.
Well, before we do that, sorry. Anybody else got anything that's like any hot topics or scenes that stuck with them particularly well? Do you think? Okay, let me ask you one more rhetorical question.
Okay.
All right.
Rhetorical.
So don't answer it.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna. You're
You're
Justine.
pointing at me, so I'm gonna answer.
Yeah. No, it's you. It's you. You're Justine. Your parents. You're a lifelong vegetarian. Your parents drop you off at this shabby but prestigious veterinary school. At what point in time does Emma Holder, née Justine, go, fuck this, I'm out? Like,
Oh, the first day of hazing.
yes!
The first day of hazing. No, thank you.
Yes, Emma and I would not become cannibals because we're not putting up with that.
Well, we still would somehow because it's in our blood, apparently, in this
Well,
situation.
yeah, somebody sneaks some meat into your plate.
I think essentially the scene with the nurse kind of justifies in a sense why she doesn't leave or say something. And then at that point it's like it's too late because now she has this craving.
The hooks are
Well,
in.
and there's also all the pressure of your family.
Oh, sure.
You know, and all that stuff.
I get why she wouldn't. I get stressed very easily, and that would have terrified me.
Yeah.
I do think, I hadn't thought about this before. Her sister giving her that kidney and shoving it in her mouth is essentially turning on this thing in her.
Yeah. It's like a violation.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, this is like
it's like more
this
than
this relationship is complicated because the sister also like baits her with that corpse hand while everybody's recording it. It's like this relationship is fraught.
Well,
But she's already eaten her finger by that point, so tip for tat.
It's probably like one of those, I hate this about myself.
Yeah.
Let's have,
I
want
need
to see
an
someone else.
ally.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know if it's necessarily that she's like, oh, I'm going to make you become like me by eating this. To me, it's almost just like the sister's in denial. and she's just being like, I ate it and I'm fine, just eat it. And she seems like way too angry that her sister would say no to it.
Yeah.
So it's that like self-defense thing. Exactly.
Maybe.
Self-hating thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's
tough.
vote.
It's
so
tough.
much. I love this movie.
Everyone call your siblings. Let's vote.
Or not, if you have eaten their fingers, maybe lose their number. Allison, we're going to let you go last, if you don't mind. So okay, cool. Emma, you want to go first?
Sure. So, I'm really torn because I did think this was a good movie. I absolutely hated watching it, if that makes sense. Like, it really bothered my tummy. And my sensibilities.
We should have had like a big breakfast before.
So, I will be giving it I have to give it a thumbs down just because, like, it's good, but I can't handle it.
Shocking.
But that's what the scariness rating's for.
Okay, well, but it's not scary. It's just like grotesque to me. I get that it's a good movie, but it is not a good movie for me.
Dylan has set up like a macro in that spreadsheet that tracks all of this that just gives you thumbs downs automatically. It's like
that's fine. And maybe part of this is I'm giving too many thumbs up, but I just like it. Like it had a visceral reaction. I don't need to explain myself. I did not enjoy watching it. I enjoyed watching it with you all, but I would never, ever watch it again.
Yeah.
And then scariness factor, I want to give it a haunting factor. It is very haunting. Like, I'm not scared that something's going to kill me. Oh, come on. Put those headphones back on. I'm not scared someone's going to, like, jump out of the bushes and kill me, which is, like,
true.
My normal scare. But I am scared of the horror of humanity, and like I'll never unsee those images.
Yeah.
So I'll give it 4 thingy nibbles.
I'll go big thumbs up. For all the reasons that I've already gone into, I think that this is the kind of things. If you're listening and you're somehow a future guest, this is the kind of thing that I want us to be watching, where it's like. Where it's sort of like rich in sort of meaning. It's really, really, really well made, and all the sort of like elements of a good film are there, like in terms of like the composition of the shot, the pacing of it, the story, the character development, all of that. So big thumbs up for that sort of stuff. And I would just like us to be watching more of this, maybe, than like just sort of like dumb and violent movies. Like more sort of like thoughtful character reflections with violence. So big thumbs up. I'm giving it a 1. Because it is like not scary to me.
Sure,
it is. I think it's difficult to watch. But
would you call it haunting?
I wouldn't actually call it haunting. I think it's like, to me, this is like not fitting into like the bucket that I've got in my head for horror movies, where like I almost just sort of like have like this erase tape thing that happens after we watch them, where I'm like, that was fucked, and then I just like am able to like rewind 2 hours and like bleach it out of my brain. This will stick with me, but not in a really haunting way, in a way that I'm like dying now to read all the sort of like academic articles that are being written about this as a sort of like post-feminist cannibal Holocaust or cannibal corpse or something like that. But so I really liked it. I don't think it was particularly scary. It was difficult to watch in the moment, but I'm okay with that, I think. And so I'm giving it 1 hair throats. I'm sorry. Sorry to be really Kyle. I liked it, and I feel like suddenly I'm like, well, saying 1 diminishes its impact. It doesn't for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's a separate rating.
I've said my piece.
All right. Thumbs up. Obviously. It's so good.
Yay.
This is one of my favorites that we've watched. I really love this movie. I liked it a lot more than I even expected to.
I'm so glad I could
it's
please
nice when
you.
people like the stuff that you bring them, which is why this podcast is hell to me. Because usually they don't. So thumbs up. I don't know. There's nothing left for me to say that we haven't already said. It's just fucking great. Scariness rating. Now, this is what's interesting to me, because the whole time I've been thinking I'm going to give this a high scariness rating, because in the moment it's like the opposite of what you're saying. In the moment, it was so upsetting to me. There's moments where I had to look away. Ideas in the movie that are so troubling.
Yeah.
Now, after the fact, I'm like, gonna forget about it. I'm literally, all I can think about is when can I go get a fucking cheeseburger? I'm so hungry right now. So it's just sort of left my body, you know. Wow. But
that is so unusual. It's so unusual that you want to eat after this.
I'm sorry. What can I say? I'm a big hungry boy.
You got a rash on your tummy? I've
just been scratching.
Smoke a cigarette and peel the skin off of your body.
4 out of 5.
Oh, awesome.
4 out of 5.
Nice.
Multiplayer video game sessions with my sibling.
Nice.
Sweet.
Okay, I'm gonna give this 12 bloody fingers out of 10. This is just like one of my favorite all-time films. I love how much you sit with all the images. She's just so good at just like, you have to look away, but you can't not look away. And as well, like, I also appreciate like the casual female nudity in the sense of like, even when she's like doubled over checking over her roommate, and you have that like casual boom come out, but it's like there's no attention towards it. There doesn't need to be attention towards it.
It's not objectification.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And just everything about it is just so good. I feel like I had other things stacked up in my belt that I was going to talk about at the end, but c'est la vie.
French.
The scariness. Yeah, that's hard. I think I will also go 4 hairballs out of 5. Just because it's so unsettling.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like words are kind of, I'm losing them right now. But
well, it is that sort of thing that like we well, like our scariness thing is like whatever. It's like arbitrary ultimately at the end of the day. But I wonder, is this one of those movies that is like not that horror purists are like, that's not a horror movie. It's
probably
just like a grindhousey genre movie.
That's an interesting question. I bet there's probably some people, but for the most part, it seems consensus is that this is definitely a horror movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
people
getting eaten here.
Yeah, fair enough. So it's scary.
Yeah.
We can rate it on scariness.
Yeah.
Or hauntingness. Hauntability. Oh, okay, cool. Well, so I think for the most part, if you haven't seen Raw, join Allison's tribe.
See it with a warning. Netflix. See it with a warning.
I know you got Netflix.
Yeah.
Go check that shit
It's
out.
on Netflix, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
Netflix.com. Use our code.
Wet dot. Nice and wet. Allison, do you have anything you want to promote? Or like your Twitter handle or anything like that?
You know, I know our listeners are familiar with Cold Town Theater. I know it's not a hidden thing, but I'm there every Thursday now, so that's fun.
What time?
It's at 8:30. Friends for now.
You're working on a movie right now or film? Yes?
Yeah. Well, it's actually kind of wrapped. It's over with. It's been submitted. I just submitted it to 2 places last week, but I'm extremely like self-deprecating. I don't want anyone to ever see it.
Okay, cool. So like,
don't watch her films.
Well, don't tell us where we can see it, but hypothetically, what is it called?
It's called Blue Sunday.
Okay, well,
right now
we have enough information.
There's nowhere to see it, but I'm casting a wide net, so hopefully someone will nibble.
Okay, cool.
As a independent party who has not seen it, but has read it, read the script, it rules. It's great.
Awesome.
So I like it a lot.
I mean, yeah.
Cool.
Yay.
And then, so Pendulum is still in the midst of their main stage show at Cold Town Theater, Saturdays at 7.
When does that end? When does that end?
We have
November.
3 more shows?
It goes to November 3rd.
4 more shows.
November 3rd is the last show.
Yeah.
Saturdays at 7 p.m. And then there's also a special spooky dooky Halloween show on October 30th. Not actually Halloween.
Yeah.
At 10 p.m.
And then we have another live show that is October, or for Wadad, not Pendulum, for We Are Definitely Afraid of the Dark at the
Podcast
Theater. The 25th, right?
October 25th at Fallout Theater, 8 p.m. Guest TBD.
Movie TBD. It's TBD.
Movie D, but we got to talk about
it. Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure that out soon and let you know.
So go to all those shows and try to track that movie down online or at festivals.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, perfect. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Allison.
Yeah.
Bye. Great. Yeah.